Hey guys, Steven here and welcome back to another PC component review, and today we're going to have a look at my first power supply review. No, actually not my first, but the first one with my improved components, as you will see a bit later. So we're going to have a look at the Be Quiet Dark Power Pro 11. It's the 850 watt version. Probably one of the most expensive power supplies I've ever had, because the 850 watt version already retails for around 200 USD or in Europe for over 200 euro. So that's very expensive from power supply, but also the specs you get and the materials in there, they are really great. So all of these supplies are modular designs and feature the 80+ platinum efficiency. They are sophisticated full bridge conversion implementations with LLC and synchronous rectifying, as well as DC to DC transformation. Now the cool thing about the Be Quiet is that it comes with an overclocking key. Basically this allows you to switch between the 4-rail setting to a single rail setting on the 12 volt mode, and also it comes with the Be Quiet SilentWings 335mm fan, and it's absolutely not noisy. It's totally quiet, as the name Be Quiet suggests, but I have no dB meter, so I can't tell you how loud it is, and also it makes no sense beneath the load tester because it's very loud, but I can really tell you the fan super awesome, and also it looks really great and it's really quiet. Okay, so 80+ platinum efficiency means 94% efficient with 230 volts, depending on the load, and this is really great. So that's why it is so expensive, because the efficiency is nice and also the components and all the features. So I would say I don't want to bore you with this. Let's get directly started. Let's have a look at the package. You will find a link down below in the description if you're interested in it, if you want to check it out. And now let's get directly started and let's have a look at the specs of this power supply here. Alright guys, now you will ask me, why should I spend over $200 on a power supply? Are you fucking crazy? What are you telling us? But honestly, I can tell you, never save money on a power supply. It must not be a $200 power supply, but please keep your hands off the $40 power supplies, because we're going to do a review on such a cheap power supply with 600 watts next week, and my load tester will probably blow it up. But I don't want to spoiler, you will see it guys. Okay, so here's the Be Quiet Dark Power Pro. You can have a look at the spec sheet. So the maximum combined power is 850 watts. Well, there are different models like the 1000 watt model and the 1200 watt model. A bit more expensive, but also more power. But I think they're not released right now or not in stock. But let's have a look at this particular one with 850 watts combined. So that means on the 3.3 volt rail we have a maximum current of 25 amps, on 5 volts 25 amps too. All that together can drain a maximum wattage of 140 watts. On the 12 volt rails we have here 4, as you can see, and you can switch to the single configuration. You can drain 70 amps total, which results in 840 watts. On minus 12 volts we have half an amp, and here on 5 volts SB we have 3 amps, which equals 15 watts, the 6 watts, and all that together it's 800 watts. So 850 watts. Now actually some quite decent power output. Now if you need more power just with my crossfire system, then you should go with the 1000 watt version or the 1200 watt version. It's always good to have some headroom to the maximum the maximum it can deliver, because if you upgrade your system, or for instance if you have some power peaks, then the power supply should be able to deliver that. But also this one here can deliver over 900 watts without shutting down. But now let's just go and let's have a look at the things we can find inside of the package. Boys and girls, now let me show you what you can find inside of the box. And for over 200 euro we expect a lot of great accessories, right? And you also get them. Now here on the desk you can basically see all the things which are included. Please don't mind the chaos, but I had that power supply really in my case and I couldn't get all the things really back together. But let's get started here with the user manuals and maybe the boring stuff first. Once again here the models, 550 watts up to 1200 watts, but don't worry, all have the 80+ platinum efficiency, so that's basically the key thing in the series and the modular design. And inside of the user manual you will see the fan speed curve. It explains the overclocking key and it's multi-language. So if you don't know how to use the power supply, have a look at that. Then now let's check out the special cables first. Like that cable is quite interesting. Now it's a fan connector adapter cable. So basically you have here some very small 2-pin connectors, as you can see, and you can plug them into your power supplies on the backplate, and then you get some additional 4-pin Molex connectors for your fans, or here the 2-pin fan connectors to run additional fans. For instance, if you have a motherboard with 3 or 4 fan connectors, and if you need more, then you could use that to run the fans directly from your power supply. Great thing, because I definitely need that because of my water cooling with so many radiator fans, and that's a nice thing to have. Okay, then here we have some more screws. So we have here some quick mount screws, but we also have normal screws, so you really don't have to worry about fixing the power supply in your case. Now guys, here's the overclocking key, and as I've said before, this does not overclock your computer, it doesn't overclock your power supply or whatever, so this just switches the rail mode, like from quad rail to single rail, which is better for overclocking. Now if you want to use it, then you can switch this on. For sure, first of all, you have to get this into the back of your computer, so as you can see, this is a normal slot cover, and you have to connect that 3-pin connector to the back of your power supply. Actually very easy. Now, if the switch is off, you're using quad rail, and if you switch it on, you're using single rail. Then also the LED here should light up. But if you don't want to use that switch here, because you then have another cable in your case where you have to do cable management, you could also use that little jumper. So basically it bridges the contacts, as you can see. You just plug that into the back of your power supply, then you have single rail, and if you just pull this out, then you have quad rail. In my opinion, it's better because I don't want to have to switch on the backside, and also I can't access the backside of my computer, so it absolutely does not make sense to have this on the back of my computer. I just use that little jumper here, so if I want to have quad rail, I just plug it out, and for overclocking single rail, I just put it in and bridge the contacts. So very easy thing, and I think it's really cool that they give you the opportunity to switch between quad rail and single rail. But for sure, that's not everything inside of the package. So we have some normal cable straps made out of plastic, absolutely nothing special. You get a couple of them, but you also get those nice looking textile cable straps with the Be Quiet logo, a new dimension of silence, so that actually looks quite good in the system, so I really like that. Now, yeah, let's talk about the cables. So here you can see them. So they come with that black thing around them, not sure how you call it in English, but we just have normal cables, so round tubes and no flat ones. And yeah, in this price category, I mean, the flat cables, they would be better in my opinion, at least it would look better. I really like them. Then, yeah, we have 8 SATA connectors, so SATA power connectors, and we have 8 Molex 4-pin connectors for HDDs or whatever. So 8 and 8, and this is completely modular, so basically, if you want to have just one, you plug one of these into the back of your power supply. If you need more, then just plug in the additional cable lanes. But for sure, that's not everything, so here we have some more additional cables, and here we have the P8 connector, the double 4-pin CPU connector, and also here the PCI Express / motherboard connector. Okay, this is also fully modular, as you can see, so you can plug it into the back of your power supply and then use it. And here we have all the VGA, so the PCI Express additional power connectors. You can see here VGA 1, that's an 8-pin connector, then you have another 8-pin connector, and this goes up to VGA 3, so basically you have 3 times 2 8-pin connectors, so you have 6 of those VGA 8-pin connectors. Alright, basically that are all the cables, and the main ATX cable, it's coming out of the power supply, so it's not modular, and I know people like fully modular power supplies, so also that the main cable is modular, but honestly it doesn't make sense because you still need it in order to operate the power supply, so in my opinion it doesn't really matter. Okay, then let's go and let's have a closer look at the PSU. So there we go, here's the top of the power supply, and here you can see the Be Quiet SilentWings free 135mm fan. Well, kinda big, and when it is running, it is absolutely quiet. Now, I cannot tell you how noisy it is, but you can find some tests down below in the description, and it makes no sense for me to test it because my load tester is really, really loud. Okay, now, the power supply, it's mid-sized, I would say, so here we have some small power supply, you can see it's around 3 centimeters longer, should fit in the most decent chassis. Okay, that's the top side basically. Here we have some metal grid, and You hear it makes some noise, but when this is in your system, there is no vibration, so you don't have to be afraid that there's some noise from the power supply, so here from the metal grid over the fan. Okay, so that's the top side. Looks nice so far. We have some matte black finish, and now let's have a look at some other side. The side panels of the power supply contain the Be Quiet badge here with the Dark Power Pro logo, 850 watts, 80 plus platinum efficiency, and here's a little warranty seal, which we'll later remove, so this will void the warranty, but I want to have a look at the internals, so we'll definitely do it. So here's the backside of the power supply, and as you can see we have a lot of ventilation holes to keep the whole power supply cool. Now the air goes in here, cools down all the components, and goes out here at the bottom side. Now if you have a look here at the connector and the switch and the font, then you can see that this power supply is designed to mount it at the top of the case. Well, if you have some older case, then you can also mount it at the bottom, but then, well, the connector here is upside down, same goes for the switch. But so far this is looking very good. Now the power socket connector cable is also included, I forgot to show you that. Comes with the correct power socket connector for your country, well, depends on your country. And here's the power switch, so some hardware on and off switch, and yeah, that's basically it, so that's the back side. And last but not least, let's have a look at all the ports and connectors on that power supply. Well, you can see it's not fully modular, so the main ATX cable is coming out of the power supply, and here you can see it, so the 24-pin or 20-pin ATX connector, just however you need it. And the rest is fully modular, like we have 8-pin 4-pin connector, motherboard connector. Then here we have 4 PCI Express connectors, so basically this is to power your graphics cards. So the PCIe, 6-pin, 8-pin, whatever. Then here for the drives, 4-pin Molex and also the SATA power cables. And here for the additional fans, you have seen the fan cable before. And at the bottom we have the port for the overclocking key. So you can use the jumper or you can just use the switch, however you want to. So you see it's almost fully modular, but just the main cable which you need to operate the power supply, it's not modular. Also doesn't make a lot of sense because you need it to power on the power supply to get everything running, so why should you make this modular? You always need that crap. Alright, then let's have a look at the inside of the power supply because we've checked out the whole power supply here from the outside. Here comes a very quick look at the components here from the inside, and let's have a quick look at the fan. Now the fan, as you can see, Be Quiet SilentWings, 12 volts, 0.56 amps, and the maximum RPMs is 1500. It comes with fluid bearing, so really the bearing holds for a very long time and it's almost unhearable. So the fan quality very good, comes here in some kind of plastic chassis here with a tunnel and also that rubber ring around it, so there's no vibration and it's completely silent. And here are the components from the actual power supply. Soldering looks very good. Here on the left side, so that little board, that's the CM board, so the cable management board. Then here, that little card here, so basically we have 8 add-on cards. So this little card here, it's the DC-DC converter board for 3.3 and 5 volts. Then this little card here, that's the 5 volt SB board. Then here is another card, and that is the LLC board with the C of LLC. And also there should be a protection board, well, it's that one here, so for all the protections. Then 6 is the fan control board, it's that one here because you see the fan is connected to that board here. Then here we have another board, and that's the LLC control board with IC. And the next board, so number 8, it's that small one here, and it's the minus 12 volt board. All in all, very nice quality, a lot of separate boards here. Here the 105C Japanese capacitors, and the overall quality of the power supply here from the inside looks very good to me. Alright boys and girls, now let me quickly show you my test setup. So here in this box we have the power supply, so the Dark Power Pro is already connected to a little device here, actually a huge device here at the top of this white box. And this one here is an electronic load, it's the Sunmoon SM5500, and that little thing here is especially made to test out ATX power supplies. But well, if you know what it can do and how it works, then you can also test out several other things. Okay, we have a temperature sensor attached to it because I'm testing the power supply here in this little box. And I'm not only testing it at 25 degrees, I'm also testing it at 45 degrees just to simulate the environment when it's built into a computer, because it's not 25 degrees there. And to heat it up, I have here this white heater, so an electronic heater, and also I can put something into the front so that the hot air is not coming out. And I just have a look always at the temperature sensor, so which temperature currently is there. So something between 40 and 45 degrees. I cannot really keep it constant, so I have not so professional equipment, but I think it should be good enough. Alright guys, now that's my test setup. I mean, it's not the best, I have no AC sources or whatever, but honestly I can't afford it, and the whole setup here was around 4,000 euro, and really I cannot spend more than that. But I think it's accurate enough, and I think I can present you some nice values if this power supply is any good or not. But for sure, the Be Quiet Dark Power Pro is definitely a nice power supply. Now before we get started with the tests, maybe because it's the first time I do such a review here on YouTube, let me show you the load tester. So well, it's currently on. You hear it's very loud, so it has two huge fans to get all the air out, because basically that load tester can burn up to over 1000 watts, and that's a lot of power, and the heat has to go out, and well, on the back side it's just sucking out all the hot air. Okay, basically it works like this. The power supply is connected with all cables to that PCB, so it's especially made for ATX power supplies. For sure, you could also use a normal electronic load and hook it up to the cables, but this load tester is way easier than hooking up a lot of electronic loads. Now it works like this. I can just switch on the power supply with one single button, and there we go. So the power supply is now running, the fan is running, and you will see here we have basically 3 control LEDs. It shows us the voltages like plus 3.3 volts, plus 5 volts, and plus 12 volts if it's okay. And we have here the loads, so I can program up to 10 loads, but I'm using 5 for the tests. Most online magazines are also using 5. I just wanted you can compare all that, and also it's not so much work with 5 loads. So basically it works like this. I've now switched to wattage, and I have here for instance 100 watts. Then here if I switch to the second load programmed, it should be around 250, but well, it's not always accurate. Then here we have 450, and here we have, this should actually be 675 if I'm correct, and here we have the full 850, 860 watts, which the power supply can deliver. So basically I can just keep it running. Maybe on 850 watts it will go to heat protection a little bit later, because we're draining a lot of power here with the power supply tester. But I could just keep it here on one of the loads for a longer time, check out the efficiency, do some tests on the computer. Basically this device also allows me to check out the voltages while we are loading it. So you can see basically we now have here 850 watts, and you can check out the voltages. So if the voltage is dropping below a critical level or whatever. But also this device here has some really nice software which does it for me. So basically you just hit the start button, it does the test on the computer, and then later you can check out the report and check out the values if everything was okay. Now here we have an output for the oscilloscope. So basically it allows me to check out the ripple and noise on the software on the computer, and it's way easier than measuring it on your own, because basically everything here is in the machine, so you just have to connect here the probe, and there you go. And I have a USB oscilloscope, so a picoscope, which is definitely enough to measure ripple and noise. Okay, yeah, here the temperature sensor for the heat. Currently we have room temperatures at 22-23 degrees. I will later heat up the power supply. What it also allows me is to do short tests. So basically you can just short the 12 volt rail, you can short 5 volts, 3 volts, whatever you want to. And if I hit the short button, it bridges basically some contacts, and now the power supply is off. So you see PS is not on, so the fan is not running, it did shut off. And I can just see, yeah, what happens if I just switch it back on, does it work, or is it broken now? But basically it survived all the short tests, and this power supply has a really good short protection. Alright, we can not only check out the voltages, wattage, we can also check out here the current, like here the amps we're currently draining from the power supply, like 20 amps on the first 12 volt rail, then here another 20 amps, here another 20 amps, here 10 amps. And well, it's actually a really nice device. You just have to get used to it a little bit, because sometimes you do not know which meter is what. So it's actually good to put some little post-its or whatever on the device which tells you what each meter is telling you, because sometimes this can be quite confusing. Alright guys, that's the machine. And I would say I will now do the test on the computer. After that we'll talk about the test results, and now let me also quickly show you the software, and then we can also have a quick look at ripple and noise and how I measure that and all that other crap. Oh yeah guys, now let me show you the noise or ripple coming out here of the Be Quiet power supply. Sorry for the background noise because the load tester is very loud, but well, we have a USB oscilloscope connected to the notebook, and it's getting the signal from the load tester, so this is already prepared and perfectly nice. We can see here the waveform, so it's not really sine, but also periodically. And well, I'm currently draining 100 watts from the power supply, so you should always check out the ripple or noise depending on what wattage you drain currently, because this really matters. And I can show you quickly the ATX design guide. So here you can see basically, well, the limits for ripple and noise. So on the 12 volt rails it's 120 millivolts peak to peak, and on 5 volts SB and 3.3 volts it's 50 millivolts peak to peak. And if you're not sure what ripple or noise is, I would really suggest that you check out here the EEV blog. I watch this every day. This guy is a fucking genius and he explains everything so well. So basically ripple is the discharge of the storage element, and the noise, yeah, everything else here which is causing that kind of waveform. Okay, so we can now check this out here in the Picoscope software. So this is how it looks when we drain 100 watt from the power supply. And for sure, as you can see here in the video, the noise also depends on the difference from the current to the time. So this is really important. If you drain more current from the power supply, like this, you also get more noise/ripple. And we can just check out here the measurement. I've added here peak to peak, and on 850 watts we have here average peak to peak of below 20, so around 18 millivolts. And on 100 watts, well, we have way less, we have 10 to 12 millivolts. I just have to correct the measurements then for the final result. But it's definitely in the specification. So this is currently on 12 volts, but we can also switch, for instance, to 5 volts. It's meter B. So then you will see it looks kind of different, so because the voltage is way lower. And we can also check out the measurement here. So we're here at 6 millivolts, 8 millivolts, and here if we switch to 850 watts, we have something like 18, 20 millivolts. So that's really, really okay. Alright guys, so that was just a quick look at the noise and ripple coming here from the Be Quiet Dark Power Pro. And I would say let's continue and let's have a look at the final result. Oh well, maybe before we have a closer look at the results, let me show you how the testing software here works. So I have here the software from Sun Technology, and you see there's still something in Chinese or some strange signs which I cannot read, but it's very easy actually. You have here all the meters, you can check them out. I have here all my testings I have programmed. Basically you program the loads and you tell the machine what to do. And I have here, for instance, a power meter test for the efficiency. I have cross regulation tests, I have short protection tests, overpower protection tests, so how much power we can drain from the power supply until it turns off, and then normal loading tests depending on different current, time and whatever. Okay, so that's the basic test actually, and to run it I just hit the run button, and then you see the machine is now testing the power supply, and it's doing that automatically. And once it's finished I can check out the report on the computer, and it tells me also if it has passed all the tests, if it failed, and that's a really good thing. But you should always check out the results and think about them, because the machine is just doing something and printing out some results. Sometimes you have made some mistake and then you get some crazy results. They actually can't happen in reality. So always handle that with care, but it's a nice thing to test out power supplies. And yeah, this is basically how I test that little baby here, and I would say now we're done and let's get over to the results. So yeah, we're now here at the end of this review, and here comes my final conclusion about the Be Quiet Dark Power Pro 11 series. So well, let's get directly started with the cons, right? Now it's a very silent power supply. I almost can't hear it, so I really barely hear that power supply when it's running at maximum load. And that's really great. Now the fan is great, then we have that rubber ring around the fan to decrease the vibrations. Here's also rubber, and really there are no vibrations, there's no sound from the fan, and it's really very close to silent. Then it's built with very high standards inside and out, so the quality of the power supply seems to be very good. 94% efficiency, so 80 plus platinum certification is definitely great, even though I did not always reach it in my tests, because also the sun moon load test is not the most accurate thing. I have no AC sources. So well, it's not too accurate, but it's definitely 94% and we're very close to that. High grade 105C Japanese capacitors inside, as I've seen before, so that's very good. Excellent load regulation. Then there's almost no ripple noise, so it was just very low. That's a good thing, so the ripple suppression is very strong. Then I could drain 980 watts from the power supply before it wanted to shut down, so it depends. It was between 940 to 980, then it shuts down, but then you can just repower it and it's still alive. So the overpower protection very good, same goes for the short protection, so all the protection circuits, very good job. And yeah, there is no coil whine, you don't hear anything from the internals, and that's a very good thing too. It's modular, not fully modular, but I would say definitely okay. The only downside so far is that the price is kinda high, over 200 euro here in the European region, and there are many competitors in this price range. But I have to say the Be Quiet Dark Power Pro 11 is a very decent power supply and I really enjoyed testing it. So guys, this was my first power supply review. If I forgot something, don't be mad at me. I'm doing this really for the first time and the concept is not really finished. Still getting some new stuff, and yeah, I need to check how it works, and also to check out if I measure something, if I can reproduce that and all. It's not so easy. But guys, thank you so much for watching. A lot of more PC component reviews are coming, graphics cards, power supplies, mainboards. And once again, thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day and bye bye, see ya!